Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru and welcome to a slightly belated pickups video. Not too delayed, but just enough for me to say that I should have done this 2 weeks ago when the month rolled over. But I'm here now and there is plenty to show off. So let's not waste too much time. This is all of my January to through March 2026 pickups. And hopefully the quality of this video is good. I'm still using my phone to record, but I'm doing it through OBS, and I've got my Rode wireless mic here that's actually connected back to my soundboard. So we'll see how this all works out. But let's jump into the first set of items here. Starting with one that I got, I think this was from Amazon, that I picked up as part of an order that I did at some point, and that is the Atari 50 anniversary celebration. This is the expanded edition, which comes with additional stuff. Normally I would open these things up, but I'm not going to do it for this because it's just the standard release, and you know, I'll open it up later when I'm actually going to play it. But yeah, Atari 50. I went to a game store that I frequent occasionally and picked up a couple of things. This one I've been after for a long time. For whatever reason, every time I see it in the wild, it's either missing the manual, it has a reprint cover, or the condition is just terrible. And so this is the first time I've seen it in forever where it's been in reasonable shape, and that is Mirror's Edge. This is, of course, the PlayStation 3 version. I'd like to find the 360 version at some point, but was glad to finally stumble across this one. I also grabbed a couple of games on the cheap, and that would be Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order for the Xbox One, and also Titanfall 2 for the Xbox One. And so just a couple of odds and ends there. Moving on, I took a trip to go see a concert here a month or so ago, and when I went, I took a little bit of extra time to make sure that I could stop by some game shops, and there was one that I stopped by that had quite a few things, and a couple that had a couple of other things, and so we'll just roll through these quickly. This is Lego Star Wars 3 for the PSP. I, for some reason, didn't have that already. The Golden Compass. This is Handspree 10 Kate or Kate, I'm not sure. Honda Superbike World Championship. Just kind of getting a few odds and ends here. Max, DJ Max Emotional Sense Fever. Super Collapse 3. Justice League Heroes. And then Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams collection. I had the Gottlieb collection, but didn't have this one for some reason. Always happy to add some new PSP stuff to the library. As I've stated before, my eventual goal is to try and get to a full US PSP set with all variants. I'm not sure I'll ever get there, but it's fun to at least try. And then this is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger for Xbox, and this one kind of looked fun, and so I decided to grab that. Now, let's move on to a couple of other items that I got pretty special from a couple of those stores while I was shopping. One of those I was very happy to find is the Wii U Wii Fit combo. I already had the Wii Fit U game, but what I didn't have was the complete package. And this has the unopened still sealed Wii U game itself, but it also has the fit meter, which appears to also be unused because it still has the little pull tag for the battery. And so that's pretty exciting. Cool to see that. I don't know if I'll ever actually use it, but it's still kind of fun to have as part of the collection. And again, since I'm getting close to a full Wii U US set, this was one that I still needed to acquire. Moving on, I finally scored myself a complete copy of James Pond Underwater Agent. I've got James Pond 2 sitting over on the shelf here, but usually when I see the original James Pond, it's kind of in poor condition. This one's not in amazing condition, although it did come in this nice protective box. But anyway, glad to finally have this one for the Sega Genesis. And I don't know how, but this one completely escaped my radar. This is the Tokyo Mirage Sessions Special Edition. And I don't know why, but I wasn't aware that this existed. And so I already have the standard game, but not only does this come with the game, as you would expect, but it also has a fun sticker sheet, a soundtrack, which this is a Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Special Vocal Version. And okay, yeah, here we go. So you've got your actual soundtrack CD, plus instead of a booklet, you've got all these little cards that have characters in the game on the one side and then song lyrics on the other. So I imagine this will probably be relatively fluffy, dancey J-pop, but I don't know, kind of neat. And on top of that, let me get this back in the folder here. On top of that, it also has this really nice booklet. And this is an art book. Of course, this is, I want to say that the Tokyo Mirage Sessions game is sort of a crossover between the Shin Megami Tensei Persona type world and then Fire Emblem. And so it's a little bit of an interesting beast of its own. But you've got character profiles and a lot of different art, concept art, and you know, here's actual art from within the game itself. And so this will be kind of cool to browse through. I haven't played through this game yet, even though I've had the original Wii U release of the game for some time. I don't remember if this has been re-released on the Switch. I don't think it has, so it might still be locked to the Wii U, which makes me extra glad that I found this special edition in the wild, because hopefully that means I won't, won't have to worry about having a working copy. As you all know, this is going out to the media center PC, so I can rip the soundtrack and get that on my media server. But very, very cool to find this one in the wild, because like I said, I just wasn't aware of it for whatever reason. And so finding it here, or finding it at that store, was very cool. Another thing that was very cool that I found at that store that I hardly ever see in the wild is TurboGrafx stuff. I found a copy of Alien Crush for the TurboGrafx. And like I said, I never see TurboGrafx stuff in the wild, hardly ever. In part because I think the area where I live, you know, there were only 2 retail outlets when I was a kid that actually carried it that were within my state. And they were both in the 2 largest cities in the state. And it was tough to get a hold of. I wanted one as a kid, but I was never able to get one. And so anyway, yeah, I just don't see these very often, so I had to pick it up. That's a different store. Actually, the store that I found the Tokyo Mirage Sessions at had a couple of shmups I needed as well. And one of those is, this is a still sealed copy of Last Hope Pink Bullets. Now, I already have the standard release of Last Hope, but of course the Pink Bullets release came later when NG Dev Team was made aware that, hey, maybe people are having a hard time seeing the bullets in the game. They're blending in with the background too much. And so they made some tweaks and came out with this revision. And so this is that revision. And so now I have both. When it comes time for me to cover it for my podcast and to stream the game, I will be able to stream both versions and, you know, dare to compare. So that was cool to stumble on, as was, again, a still sealed brand new copy of Redux Dark Matters. That was a HuCast game. Now, I have the Steam release of this, but of course, as with, you know, same with when we covered Ghostblade, I wanted to be able to cover the original Dreamcast version and the HD version that came out later. And so, very happy to be able to find this. Obviously, being still sealed, it's going to be in great shape. And so this will be fun to compare the original release and think of it in that context versus the later PC version, which will probably have some quality of life features. So that was all very good to find. Moving on to the next batch of stuff here. I got a couple of things in the mail from Limited Run Games. One of those being the Nintendo Switch release of Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles. This is one of those games I have heavy nostalgia for. I remember playing it back in the late 90s. A friend and I, who both owned PlayStations, I think both of us rented this game at one point or another, and this is a great 2-player game. It's just a lot of fun, and it's totally janky, but it's a good time. And so for couch co-op, it is especially if you like the memery of the Star Wars prequels, or you have nostalgia for those like I do, despite any qualms with their quality, you know, I still have nostalgia for them. I mean, I was one of those dorks who waited in line for hours at the premiere, who bought tickets a couple of weeks in advance and waited forever to actually see the midnight showing. And anyway, but yeah, tons of nostalgia for this game. It's a fun one. I also finally got the Game Boy Advance reissue of Sigma Star DX. This was a Game Boy Advance game that was done by Way Forward back in the day, and it's kind of become hard to find. It's one of those I wish I would have stumbled across originally when they were doing closeouts and stuff. You know, there's a handful of Game Boy Advance games that I own, complete in box, that I just bought as closeouts when a local store here that sadly no longer exists was clearancing them, and I was getting stuff dirt cheap. But this is not one of those. Just like Ninja 5.0, you know, I didn't I didn't luck out with a copy of Ninja 5.0 for next to nothing. But this is one of those I wish I would have had, because I probably would have played through it, given that it's a small RPG, but also with, instead of your standard random battles, it uses shmup stages as the random battles, which of course is going to be right up my alley. And so you have your cartridge there, and then you have your manual, of course. Nice full color, the usual glossy pages, and good quality that you would expect. And so that is Sigma Star Saga for the Game Boy Advance, the re-release through Limited Run Games. And another one that I got here, this was actually, it says Clear River Games, but of course Clear River and Limited Run and Super Deluxe Games are all sort of different arms of the same company. They're all owned by the Embracer Group. But anyway, this is the more recent City Connection re-release of Under Defeat for the Switch. This is the larger, I guess you would call it the deluxe release or limited release. See if I can break into this without messing anything up. So there you go. You got your base package there. This is a slip cover, because I'm assuming they used the same other box for the other versions, which might only have been PS5. Inside, you've got some art cards with character art. These are the different poses of the characters and things that you see during the interstitials in the game. And so, you know, there's a variety of different character arts that you see in between levels. That's included. You have the Under Defeat Boosted soundtrack. And I believe this is the new mix that is specific to this release or this updated version, because you had the original soundtrack, you had the soundtrack that came with the arrangement soundtrack that was done for the Xbox 360 and PS3 release, but then this I think has another new mix. And so so now I own all possible versions of the Under Defeat soundtrack. There's also this nice little fan book, it says. Let's crack this open and see what this is all about. So there you go. There's that. And again, this is going to be a lot of art. You know, some various posters and key art. Yeah, more of the character artwork that you see in different areas in the game. And then here you got some 3D renders of different enemy craft in the game, and you know, some of your own helicopters that you can use. Yeah, there's a couple of bosses. There's that nasty Stage 4 boss. And then, yeah, some concept art, sketches. So pretty cool stuff. And then, of course, the game itself. Now, I already own this in multiple forms. I have the original Dreamcast special release that has the soundtrack. I have the PS3 version that was released here in North America with the arranged soundtrack. My pal Sanvi hooked me up with a 360 Japanese release. And it looks like this is not a manual, but a poster, which is kind of cool. Yeah, pretty cool. And then I bought it on Steam when it re-released here recently, and now I have this version. So I've got all sorts of Under Defeat up in here. As I said, this is going into the soundtrack is going into the up by my computer, so I can do the rip of the CD. This is going on the shelf, so it's accessible. I'll have to figure out where to put this. I think it's just a little too tall to sit on the shelf next to the Switch games. But that's okay. I'll figure it out. The next thing I got here is something that I backed on Kickstarter, and that is a new Game Boy game, Maiden of the Dark, which was supposed to be a sort of Castlevania-ish, Castlevania-esque type of game. There you go, Maiden of the Dark. Darkness is coming. This is from Tiger Chainsaw Studios, and this is probably, if it's not the fastest, it's one of the fastest turnarounds I've ever seen on a Kickstarter campaign. It's certainly one of the fastest I've ever experienced. So here you have your manual. And I like the logo there, the Tiger Chainsaw. Stay tuned for new games from our studio. And yeah, nice little manual here. This manual is actually a little bit large for a Game Boy game. But I like how it says Gamer Boy as a way to kind of avoid possible copyright issues. But yeah, and then here you got your basic cartridge. I think this is injection molded and not 3D printed, but like a lot of bootlegs, it does just say game at the top instead of Game Boy. And it does use a tri-wing screw on the back though, which is interesting. But it even has a number here, DMG-TDRE-USA. And so I'm not sure what the TDRE is, but obviously that's not going to be an official designation, but very cool. I'm looking forward to giving that a whirl and trying that out, because I'm always up for a new Castlevania style romp, and so we'll see what that's like. But yeah, I think this is just a little bit bigger than your average Game Boy box, as you can see there for comparison. So it's a little bit bigger than I expect, but that's fine. It'll work. It also came with the CD soundtrack, which is cool. The Night Tremors official soundtrack. Got multiple songs on there. And it is, sadly, it is only a CDR with a little label print on it, but that's okay. Once it's ripped to the media server, it goes back in the cardboard sleeve, and to sit on the shelf, it'll be a flak rip. So at least it'll be lossless, and if the disc ever stops working, I'll have an archive of the tracks. Moving on, we'll go through some stuff that I picked up from Play Asia recently. I grabbed this. This is what I wanted when Limited Run did the Blaster Master Zero games. They put out individual releases of Blaster Master 1 and 2, and then later 3. What I wanted was a trilogy, and that's exactly what this is. This is the Blaster Master Zero trilogy, so it's all 3 of the Blaster Master Zero games. I've already played through the first one. That was one of my New Year's Day streams. I managed to play all the way through the first game in one day. I don't know if, I think the second game is supposed to be quite a bit more difficult, so I don't know if I'll be able to do that with the others, but I'm glad to have the trilogy now so that it's accessible. I also managed to grab the Switch version of Raturgy Swag. This is, of course, the RS-34 continuation of the earlier Raturgy games from Milestone. This was supposed to have received a deluxe release from Dispatch Games, but as some of you may be aware, that company has folded. I'm never getting my money back for either the Raturgy Swag release or the Game Tengoku release that we were supposed to get. So at least now I've got the physical Switch version, so that is accessible. I did eventually get a digital code for it, so I have it on the Switch, but it's nice to always have this as a backup. Speaking of RS-34 and Milestone, I kind of went nuts and picked up a couple more things, including this. This is, what is it? Il Velo, I think it's Il Velo Swamp Happy Together, if I remember correctly. I don't know, the names are a little harder to keep track of, but this is the latest version in the Il Velo or Illmatic envelope canon from Milestone and RS-34. And so this opens up here, and you've got this little booklet, which has some random stuff, random artwork, and looks like some either game information or possibly interview of some kind. A lot to translate. A lot to go through. Yeah. So that's kind of cool. You do, of course, have the game itself. Yes, Happy Together. Okay. I wanted to make sure I got that right. Yeah, it says here on the case, Happy Together. It's just a little hard to read. Looks like a metal band logo that makes it hard to read. And so there's the game there, and then just basic, like that Raturgy Swag release. But of course, It also comes with a soundtrack. Sadly, no booklet or anything like that, but Illmatic envelope, Swamp, Happy Together, special bonus audio. And as I continue to say, this is going right out to the media server so I can rip it. So that is the Illmatic Envelope Swamp Happy Together limited edition. Again, the box is just a little too large to sit on the shelf next to the other Switch games because they are, you know, the shelf is only so tall over the top of those, so I'll have to find somewhere else for the big box. I also grabbed Raturgy 2 because why not? So here you have your nice large outer box. We have another booklet here. With once again some various artwork. Raturgy was always a bit of a mystery to me. I remember messing with it on the Ultimate Shooting Collection on the Wii, not really understanding what was going on. I have a better idea now that I've seen people play these games for Shmup Slam and have a better handle on what the mechanics are, but it's still, you know, it's still kind of crazy. There's the actual game itself. We'll crack into that. So there you've got your basic Switch game. This one actually has a nice inner art. Then you have this nice CD soundtrack here. Which I'm going to have to make sure I'm careful with this since it is a custom orange case. But it is the Super Present 409. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. There's the back of the insert. I don't know if this is... Looks like it does fold open. So we'll see if I can work this out of here without damaging it. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's only 5 tracks. That's unfortunate. But yeah, various mixes. And then, of course, the disc itself. There you go. Super Present 4096. So yeah, that's the Raturgy 2 bonus soundtrack. Again, that's going right out to the media server. And then we have this nice little box. Which has this little button. It's like an easy button kind of thing. So now if I pull the tab, turn it on, there you go. So now I have a Raturgy 2 button. Go ahead and turn that off and conserve the battery. but it even comes with this nice little booklet. So that is Strategy 2 for the Nintendo Switch. Pretty solid package here. Now I gotta figure out how to get this back into the box. Okay, there we go. Sorta, kinda, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Strategy 2 for the Nintendo Switch. And not to be outdone, I also grabbed the new release of Karos. Because the game didn't confuse me enough when I played it on the Wii. I might as well be further confused by it on the Switch, right? So similar to the Il Velo Swamp Happy Together. Opens up here. And then I've got my little art book here. Character art. Concept art, and looks like some maybe explanations of what's going on. Yeah, so again, pretty cool, lots to translate. We have the game itself, which, as is tradition, we will open it up because these things are meant to be opened and played, not just sitting on the shelf as decorations, although I do enjoy that part, but I like to make sure that these are ready to go and accessible for whenever it is that I want to play them. And naturally, the CD soundtrack. So here we have the Mashimanama Soundscape, is what this is labeled. 13 tracks. There you go. That's going right out to the media server. Now, for those of you who watch my pickups videos, you'll know that this kind of thing would typically be the way to cap off one of my pickups videos, but not today, because I have something else special to show off. Huge shout out to fellow schmupper SF Koa, who hooked me up with some stuff. We got to chatting on a stream at some point. I think I rated a stream, and Ko was mentioning wanting to get rid of some things, and when I heard what items would be leaving Koa's collection, I was immediately intrigued, and I said, yeah, I'm interested in that. And so we worked out a deal, and I am now the proud owner of a whole bunch of stuff over here. So let's just quickly go through here. We have the Raiden Mark II Player 1. This is a Plum model kit. So this is still all in the plastic, has not been assembled or even torn apart yet. We have the Raiden Mark II 2-player, or Player 2. Again, a Plum model. And again, all still in the packaging, has not been broken down yet. We've got some Figma stuff here. This is the R13A Cerberus from R-Type Final 2. This one, of course, is already mostly put together. I would just have to take it out of the package and snap a couple pieces together to put it on display. Very cool. There's this Figma, the SP123, and that is the Galaxian and Galaga set. Very cool. I think I've mentioned before, Galaxian is the first arcade memory that I have. And Galaga I played tons of as a kid because they used to have a Galaga cocktail cabinet at my local Pizza Hut growing up. And so I put a lot of quarters into Galaga over the years. The one that I am most excited for is this bad boy. This is the SP112 Figma, and this is the Thunder Force 3 and Thunder Force 4 set. So this gives me my Fire Leo 04 Rhinex from my favorite shmup of all time, Thunder Force 4. And the cool thing about this is that it allows you to configure it both as an early game version or the late game version once you upgrade to the Thunder Sword. So it has craw units that correspond to both configurations. Very cool. Along with that, there's also this Gradius 5 version Vic Viper, another Plum model. And again, still all in the packaging, so this one has yet to be assembled. The 1/144th scale plastic kit. As if anyone truly knows the scale of a Vic Viper. And also the Gradius 4 Vic Viper kit. And again, all still in the plastic. As if that weren't enough, there's also the R9 Arrowhead 1/100th scale Plum kit. Again, R-Type Final 2. And this is, the word I'm going to use is extensive because, wow, look at all of that. There is a lot to assemble. I haven't put models together since I was probably 14. So it'll be interesting to see when I decide to get brave enough to do this and how it turns out. And Kowa also included a couple of bonuses with the models. I knew I was getting these, the models and the Figmas, but I didn't know I was getting these. These are some fun bonuses that Kowa threw in. You have the Omega Boost for the PlayStation. I already own this, so this will be a giveaway most likely. It's shmup adjacent, so if we ever decide to cover it on the podcast, I'll probably give it away to someone in my Discord so that that person can join alongside. But also included were some nice bonuses. You have the Japanese Sega Saturn version of Virtual On Cyber Troopers. Big fan of the Saturn version of this. I played the actual arcade version for the first time last year at Shmup Slam 7 and did not get on with it very well because the twin sticks were hard to figure out, but I played a lot of the Saturn version back in the day, and so cool to have the Japanese release. There's also the Broken Thunder music CD, which is a sort of concept soundtrack for what could have been another Thunder Force game. I want to say there was something in development for the Dreamcast at one point, and so I think this is kind of inspired by that idea. And it does include the OB card, or the spine card. Very cool. Again, that's going right out to the media station to be ripped. And then there's a couple of other games here. This one I had never heard of. This is Samidare. This is a PC release, and I believe it is a grazing type of shoot 'em up. Does have the spine card. There's no manual with this. It's literally just a just the insert. But yeah, this is a doujin that I had never heard of, and according to Koa, it's quite good. So I'm gonna have to install that and give it a try. I do have optical drives on my gaming PC, so I'll be able to do that. The other cool one, and I have this on Steam, but this is the original doujin release of Revolver 360 Reactor, which is very cool. This is kind of a very unique and underrated shmup, one that I think probably deserves more attention. And I love the fact that it's in this special case that I think this style was used for higher end, you know, SACDs and some CD releases. But yeah, cool game. And so kind of fun to have the original doujin release that was meant for Windows XP, Vista, and Windows 7. And so anyway, requirements are a Core 2 Duo 2.33 gigahertz processor, 1 gigabyte of hard drive space, or 1 gigabyte of RAM, excuse me, 250 megabytes of hard drive space, and then 256 megabytes of VRAM on your video card. And it says a GeForce 8600 GT, Radeon HD 3650, or Intel HD Graphics 3000. It also recommends a resolution of 1024 by 768. And it does mention the Xbox 360 here, so I'm guessing that this doujin release of the game was released concurrently with the 360 version. And anyway, pretty cool to have this. So this was a nice bonus. These items were a nice bonus to get alongside all the models. And so thank you to SF Koa for doing the deal, hooking me up with this stuff, and for getting me set up with all of that. Anyway, that is all I have to show you this time. Again, that is my January through March 2026 pickups, arrivals, and fun stuff that I've got. Just looking at my pile over here, I don't have much to show off yet, but it is still only April, so we'll see what the next month or two brings. I'm doing a little bit of traveling later this month and early next month, so there may be an opportunity for me to pick up a couple of other things, depending. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, if you like the video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing so you can see more of my videos in your YouTube feed. And as always, thank you all for watching, thank you for playing, and game on.